Man, this is the last time I'm gonna talk about this Trump situation because I actually really don't care. It is what it is. Not one of those protesting people, but I would rather be them than be the idiots in this world making excuses for what's going on. But anyways, so this is the thing. This is something that's just odd to me. And it's actually interesting. Like I said, Trump, taught me a lot about, about impeach doesn't mean anything. I forgot what the other things I used to talk about for 2016. I was like learning a lot of things. I always wonder why these like fat, out of shape, hillbillies were trying to say for Obama, impeach, impeach. And they don't say impeach for what? And Trump, it makes sense why people want him impeached, but you learn that this person can be impeached and still be in office. So you realize those fat hillbillies weren't really saying anything. Especially when they weren't explaining anything. I was about to bring up, even with movies, movie reviewers, they don't say anything when they try to attack a certain movie. But anyways, there's several examples, several endless examples that I can go on all day, but I just don't have time to think about this kind of stuff because this is not stuff that pops in my mind. This is not in like a normal thing, that pops in normal daily mind of a normal person. But I want to mention like, two one TV show and a movie and a real world thing, So to say something like, for like Justin Bieber. I remember a long time ago when Justin Bieber was getting on stage and they were like, it could be MTV Awards, and they were going boo, boo, and then he takes off his glasses. I think I remember something like weird, and he goes, and for God or something. He said he misses God's name, right? And and then they had to stop booing, but he got backlash because they were saying, "Didn't that just feel so off the way he said God?" And like I said, I don't, I thought it felt kind of odd the way he used it, but I was like, whatever, So, but and then next thing was, I always thought it was interesting for Family Guy. This one's easy to find. Just put in 9/11 Family Guy, where all she had to keep saying was 9/11, and then they'll cheer on 9/11, cheer, 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 you know. But the one thing that just really just has my interest, and I've been noticing a lot, was the Book of Eli. It took me a while to really appreciate that movie. It took me a little bit, and because it was just like weird for me to like, one of the whole blind thing. It was just kind of like I wasn't really liking that, but it was more also the villain wanted the Bible. I just felt like that just feels okay. That just feels like you gotta be really religious to, eat that up, But this whole Trump era, I fully get it. Like I was actually getting it before, but this Trump era, I fully get it. And it's like so weird. It's like his supporters are dumb. Would he call him the poor educated? He loves the poor educated. But to me, it's like beyond dumb. What was it called? They're trying to say now he's a Jeff Einstein. I forgot what you call it when you work for the FBI, informant or something like that. But anyways, that's not what I'm trying to get into. But I always notice it's a constant thing when they're going to do something, say something for agenda. And I want to use the other examples, but I don't feel like getting to those because there's so many. But I was going to use these certain ones. It's just like constantly they bring up God for agenda, and they'll say this is not what God want, or this is not what we true Christians of God want, and they're using that for the vaccines for Florida, and to me it's just like weird to me because I'm like, it feels like worse than the whole Justin Bieber thing, But it reminds me of Book of Eli. It was just they keep using the word God to go with an agenda. I think that's just like the oddest thing. And it's like, there's two things. I remember it used to start out, they're using like woke or liberals. And it's like, this does not explain anything. You're just using the word and saying that we can't let these liberals, like you're a liberal, they say that, they used to say politic talk. That's like school shooting. It's politic talk. Now they keep saying, we give our prayers or something, but I don't care about that. But the thing is, I just know that it's like his side, his base. All that he has to say is God or woke or bad, what do you call it, immigrants. And they're like, oh, we got to hear what this guy has to say. But the main thing is, I just, this is the thing is, but this is the thing, and I explained this before, and I want to go into examples where, like, there's a lot of things that I see on YouTube that I would think I'm never saying because I would look stupid. And I kind of jumped the gun because I want to go over more examples of something, but I kind of jumped the gun. But I'm going to stick on this. But it was like weird. It's like, like certain things like using God for agenda. I feel like I'll be already like found out right there. I don't know if there's a better word than that than found out, but I've been already exposed. It's just like, you already know what I'm trying to do. Those things that I just imagined I could never do because I was thinking, you already know what I'm trying to do. Trying to, kind of car. You know how they say the race car and all that. It's just like so weird that they get away with that. Not for their base. And I'm thinking that just feels off. Worse than a Justin Bieber thing, right? But and but like I said, I've seen all kinds of weird things. Like I said, when I was a big YouTuber, I had big YouTubers responding to me. And one of them, I think his name was Young Rip, and he was when I was done responding to just B responses. I was done because I was thinking, I was getting big YouTubers, known as big YouTubers, I guess, because they get over like 3,000 views or something. So I call them big YouTubers. I don't know how much he gets. He's someone I don't watch, but he responded to my videos when I was mocking him because he was an idiot. Well, he's a coon that's half dancer on YouTube. And it was so weird. I don't feel like going there, but I never finished the video. But I remember him saying something, and that's I wanted to get into. It's like, isn't it odd that someone can give you a video response so dumb that you can't finish the video, and knowing to be a big YouTuber, and they're get a lot of views, and they're putting you on their video talking about you, and you just don't care because it's just gibberish. I remember when he said something like he couldn't come up with a label because I sit there and said, "Yeah, what do you want to call me? You can call me an Xbox fan, DC fan, you can call me liberal, I was kind of all these just dividing names, even though but he wanted to call me something because he can't call me black, he can't even call me white, and he goes, these light-skinned people. And I sit there and said, yeah, exactly, that's what you can come up with? Because you can't really come up with some kind of agenda to give me a name. It's like, these light-skinned people, man. And it worked for his base. But like I said, it can be the smallest thing that they would use agenda. Like, like I said, they use the whole police thing. Like, so saying, best way to explain it is, but like I said, this is the part where I don't want to get into because so much, is they use so many things for agenda. Like, say, God, or they're using your word police. Act like they care about the police or the army. And they show several times that they don't actually care about them. January 6th. There's so many examples that show that they don't care about any of that crap that they say they believe in. It's only used for agenda. I don't even believe that they even believe in God unless it's, used for agenda. I don't believe that's what Trump support. I can't speak. That's what Trump supporters believe in. I don't believe that they believe in anything. They only use words for agenda. It's kind of like, Saturday Night Live, where the guy says, who plays in that Star Wars Force Awakens, I didn't kill Han Solo, wokeness did. And they're like, hey, he hates wokeness. And same as this girl, I guess she's known to, I don't think she's attractive, but the internet does. She's doable, but not, she always seems to be, dumb to me. Like, she plays the dumb blonde, and she kind of being revealed as a dumb blonde. But she was on that, what's that stupid? It's not Ego, or is it Navy, where she says, I have blue eyes and blue jeans or something. I never really paid attention to that, knowing I know in the real world did, the internet does. But where she says she wasn't in Minor Web, I explained this before. And they're like, oh, she hates wokeness. So they'll try to find anything for agenda. Something like The Rock, where he'll say something like, he regrets his vote for Biden, or not his vote, but his, whatever he said. And then they're like, yeah, he's a Trump supporter, but it's like, anything that they can have to feel something, like it could be like, it makes literally no sense. I know that goes a little bit off, but because I think the most important thing is the God thing. I think the God thing is so off the wall where I'm like, what does God have to do with what you're talking about? I don't know I don't remember how that Florida guy said, but he said something about us God, people who appreciate God, or us Christians or something. I'm like, normally I don't think I'll get attacked for using God's name that kind of, gender way. When they say don't use God's name in vain, I think that's what it's really meant. Those kind of things for, you know, agenda. I think that's the wrongest way. You can use a cuss word. I think that's worse than using a cuss word with God's name with it. But anyways, I'm saying, if you're, but all I'm saying is the whole point. It was like you're just using certain words builds up the base to what to listen in. But like I said, there were so many examples of, I don't even want to read out like viewer responses. As in, people, like I said, were listening in that, that people gave viewer response talking about killing himself, living in their parents' house, talking about killing himself. And they wanted to like, yeah, man, you're right, man. Yeah, that guy, what makes the movie suck is an asshole. And they were listening to a clearly guy that looked like he's living in a trash can. Those kind of things. It's like agenda makes them want to believe in like the weirdest things, where I kind of want to get into Kamala Harris. Everything she was saying about Trump bringing the army to use it on Americans, all those things were true. But guess what? She wasn't using words like woke and knowing the color of her skin, but she wasn't using those words. And just like, or like I said, like those people who speak hate, like I said, they always have to have an American flag behind them. There's so many, like I said, there's so many. I don't have time for it all, but that was another thing is they always notice that people on YouTube who has an American flag behind them, they're always speaking hate about some skin color. But they have to put an American flag behind them first. It's the same trend. The way they do their thumbnails, everything. It's always the same trend. I don't get it. I don't get the American flag thing, and I definitely don't get the God thing. But it works for that base. That's the opposite side of the people protesting is the dumb area that I can't, like, I don't know the word is, but when you can be like pulled in by someone saying 9/11, like they did with Family Guy. The last one before I go is one of my favorite ones. I'm not a Family Guy person, but I'm just saying, I saw a clip of, he says, whoever doesn't want to go to war is gay. And he goes, oh, I want to go to war. I want to go to war. Or something. But anyways, I got to go. Peace.